Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Oh yeah, brew. I'm Adam the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at The Girl From Arkanya, a Zelda-inspired Metroidvania by Arkanya Games. I know I've said it before, but it bears repeating. Do not name your company after your first game. It really limits your image going forward. I apologize in advance for any German, Venezuelan, or Aztec names I'm almost certainly about to butcher the pronunciation of. Without any further ado, let's dive in. In The Girl From Arkanya, you'll take on the role of Marissa, the self-proclaimed greatest treasure hunter in the world. Very early into the game, she'll be joined by Kapiura, or Copy for short, allowing a second player to join in for co-op throughout the game. Set in the lands surrounding Arkanya, a fictional city loosely inspired by the real-life German settlements in what we now know as Venezuela, the adventure begins as Marissa simply wants to set out as a treasure hunter and find lost relics. However, her goals quickly change when her best friend Ari is captured by the wicked priest Zelda, prompting Marissa to travel the land in hopes of rescuing her. In traditional Zelda-like fashion, your abilities start out quite limited. At the onset of her journey, Marissa will have a lantern and her trusty blade, the Kriegmesser. Once Copy joins you, he'll be able to swipe his claws at enemies or shoot gusts of air. Aside from your basic sword and claw attacks, most items will use up mana. Don't be fooled by the name, this applies to items that have no relation to magic whatsoever, such as using the lantern to set fires to bushes or light torches. If you're playing single player, you'll be able to freely swap between Marissa and Cappy at any time. Elsewise, the second player will control Cappy at all times. You'll never need to use Copy in combat, but if you're playing solo, then you'll need to swap between characters to solve some of the puzzles. And as is to be expected of the genre, you'll find plenty of items along the way to upgrade your abilities. Some like the grappling hook and the bombs are clear allusions to the Zelda series, while others like the wave ribbon and the thunder gauntlet are more on the original side. In traditional Zelda style, you'll challenge a series of temples, each of which has a unique item that's necessary to advance within it. Surprisingly, bosses in the game do not require the use of items from their temple in order to defeat them, but each guards one of 7 priestesses which must be rescued. Each priestess will teach you a unique dance which will allow you to interact with certain elements and also changes your special attack to match. In addition to required progress, you'll also have a handful of extras you can find. You'll increase your maximum health and mana each time you defeat a boss, but you'll also be able to find extra hidden ones scattered throughout the land through echoes of capybaras. There's also a number of side quests you can perform, including a quest line that begins at the very onset of the game, yet you won't be able to finish it until after you've cleared the penultimate dungeon, allowing you to steadily increase your sword's basic damage over the course of the game. Marissa will also use her skills as a treasure hunter to transcribe books for the librarian and find plenty of relics for her grandfather's museum.
That belongs in a museum!
Most of these will simply give you extra cash, which in turn can be spent to upgrade your ability to carry healing potions. And by healing potions, I mean cheese and beer. Yes, really. Presentation-wise, the game is pretty solid. Environments are generally pretty good, and the sprite work on the characters is quite nice. There's a good variety in the number of NPCs and enemies alike, and the game has a fairly wide variety of biomes to explore, with each of the game's main dungeons looking quite different from one another. There's also a surprising amount of work put into the backstory for a relatively small game, with books dotted throughout the adventure which you can read to get more details. For those unaware, the idea of the Spaniards thinking that Venezuela was the literal Garden of Eden isn't a throwaway line. That's actually what Christopher Columbus believed when he saw it. And yes, I am aware he was Italian, but he was working for the Spanish crown at the time. You have a cast of wacky and crazy characters, and a handful of them actually get a fair bit of screen time to develop, something you don't often see in Metroidvanias. While the story does lean more toward comedic than serious, it still does a good job of setting up the lore of their world and developing the major characters within it. However, before going to the story segment, I should mention there is a joke that does push the game into PG-13 range, and it is actually relevant to the plot, so I will have to discuss it. As for the story itself, the game opens with a backstory of a land oppressed by the demon Quetzalcoatl. Seemingly from nowhere, a woman named Mara appears and gathers 7 priestesses to do battle with the demonic forces. Though eventually victorious, Mara herself is grievously wounded and tasks the priestesses with watching over the seals to ensure that Quetzalcoatl can never rise again. From there, we're introduced to Marissa, the heroine of our tale, and as aforementioned in the introduction, she soon receives her father's sword, taking it as she intends to set off treasure hunting with her friend, the priestess Ari, who is a descendant of one of the priestesses that fought alongside Mara. Ari teaches Marissa to perform the lunar dance, which allows her to reveal hidden artifacts and use the moonstones dotted throughout the land to teleport from one to another. But shortly thereafter, they're ambushed by Zelda, flanked by Imperial stormtroopers. Sorry, I mean Munuane warriors. We'll see more of them later. Marissa does her best to protect Ari, but being quite green with a sword, she soon finds herself falling unconscious. When she comes to, Ari has been taken prisoner, but it turns out that her capybara friend can talk. Kaapiura, or Kapi as Marissa refers to him, informs Marissa that he believes Zelotl has taken Ari to the nearby temple in hopes of forcing her to break its seal. And now that we have the bare bones of the plot out of the way, we come to the part of the review where we'll be discussing some of the story's twists and turns. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please jump ahead to the time coordinates indicated on screen. Initiate temporal distortion now. Still with me? Then don't say I didn't warn you. Braving the fiery sanctuary, they find not Ari, but one of her fellow priestesses, Kindara, who teaches her own fire dance to Marissa. Disappointed but not deterred, Kapi tells Marissa that it might be worth investigating the other temples in hopes of finding Ari. As Marissa rushes off to find the water temple, Kindara briefly scolds Kapi for lying, knowing full well that's not where Ari is being held. Once on the coast, they have a small dilemma. There are no boats to reach the island upon which the temple is located, and Marissa doesn't have a swimsuit, and the only ones available are well out of her price range. Through a series of happenstance, she ends up befriending Princesa Catarina Maria Sancho de Castilla, who agrees to purchase one for her if, while on the island, Marissa agrees to confiscate the gunpowder that was stolen by the princess's mutinous crew, led by the antagonistic but honorable Captain Rafael Fidalgo Diaz de Castilla. He's been hired by Zelotl to hold the water priestess Amana Yara captive. He agrees to allow Marissa to release her if she defeats him in a duel, which naturally she wins. As with Kindra before her, Amana Yara teaches Marissa the water dance, which, in addition to other things, allows her to swim faster. Although Marissa is now wise to Cappy's earlier deception, he convinces her that charging into Zelotl's clutches without gathering the other priestesses is foolhardy. So, reluctantly, she agrees to visit the other temples in order to recruit them. From there, we get the first of two Inuyasha references as she arrives at the Wind Temple and obtains Keigra's feather. This is a very puzzle-heavy dungeon compared to the others, but eventually she does manage to rescue Keigra like the other priestesses. From there, she presses on east to Mirajo, where Yaritza, the head of the priestesses, resides. But of course, she's been captured too by none other than Captain Raphael. After a rematch, Raphael is defeated once more, and once again releases his prisoner, who is strangely unperturbed by all this. That is, until she returns home to realize that Ari is being forced to actively resist the other priestesses' attempts to restore the barriers that seal Quetzalcoatl away. From there, Marissa and Kapi attempt to reach the Thunder Temple, but are barred by a slothful and gluttonous capybara named Borbo. He refuses to move until he's given a watermelon. This forces them to take a detour to Pampuru, a capybara village led by the equally slothful King Ollie. It's never explained exactly why the two have bad blood, but it's clear neither Kapi nor Ollie are pleased to see one another. As such, Ollie demands that Kapi help him with a task first, finding a young capybara that got lost in the Kurupira's woods. Kurupira is a wolf-like trickster that, although not outright harmful, is quite mischievous, and refuses to let Marissa and Kapi leave until after they play hide-and-seek with her. After finally catching the trickster and eventually returning the young Weewo to Pampuru, Ollie does at least hold up his end of the deal and give them a melon. They feed it to Borbo and are free to advance to the Thunder Temple. Said temple is built into the ruins of the once advanced Munuane, an alien race of lizard people that have lost much, albeit certainly not all, of their ancestors' advanced technology. Although once allied with the Mirajo, they have now betrayed them to form an alliance with Zelotl. However, as Marissa advances through the alien structure, she soon realizes they're under assault by someone they only know as the Thunder Witch, who's done far more damage to the facility than Marissa's own explorations have. Eventually, they reach the heart of the facility, where they find the priestess Indira, who's stolen one of their advanced weapons and uses it along with her own lightning dance to attack with blinding speed. After an absolutely brutal duel against Marissa, she surrenders, and now that he can finally talk, Kapi explains the situation. Like the other priestesses, Indira agrees to teach Marissa her dance and help her against Zelotl. But she also demands to bear Marissa's child in hopes of giving birth to a priestess stronger than them both. How does she know what knowing means if she doesn't know what knowing means? And this does become a running joke for the rest of the game. Regardless, with most of the priestesses now aiding her, Marissa is now able to ascend Mount Roraima, where Xolotl's fortress is situated. As they ascend, they come across the youngest of the priestesses, Kana. You might have doubted Kagra's feather was an Inuyasha reference, but there is no denying it with Kana's mirror. There's no actual frost temple, but eventually they manage to catch up with Kana. Kapi assures her that Marissa is there to help, and she teaches the final dance to Marissa. The pair then advance to Xolotl's fortress, where Captain Raphael and his crew, alongside with the remnants of the Munuane, have taken up a defensive position. However, Princessa Katarina shows up and sicks Indira on the mutineers, demanding that Raphael rejoin her. He reluctantly agrees, and the princess finally reclaims her stolen cannons, which she immediately uses to besiege the inner part of the fortress, creating a distraction that allows Marissa to slip in and save Ari. Once reunited, Ari explains that Xolotl has broken the seal in order to summon Quetzalcoatl, and they quickly move to restore the seal before the demon can be unleashed. They arrive at Xolotl is just about to finish the ritual. He intends to use himself as a sacrifice to bring forth Quetzalcoatl and drive out the conquistadors. To which Kapi reminds Xolotl that his own people were oppressed under Quetzalcoatl as well, and it won't just be the Spaniards that suffer if he's released. But it's too late, and the only way to stop Quetzalcoatl is to fend him off before he regains his full strength. In what I can only describe as some form of limbo, Mara shows up and reveals herself to be Marissa's mother. She lends her aid to Kapi and her daughter in the final battle to seal Quetzalcoatl away once more. She tells Marissa that it's not yet her time to die, and thus she returns to the land of the living, finally going on a treasure hunt with Ari as she originally intended, and bringing Katarina and Raphael along for the ride. Welcome back, Chrononauts. You're just in time to join us for the conclusion. All in all, The Girl From Arkanya is a game that isn't afraid to wear its inspiration on its sleeve. It's a love letter to the classic Zelda formula, and fans of the series pre-reboot will feel right at home with this one. Boss fights do feel more combat-focused rather than puzzle-based, but there's still plenty of puzzles in the dungeons themselves, along with a fair variety of items and abilities you can acquire to help you better traverse the land. While it's more comedic than serious, there is a great deal of care put into the writing. If you're looking for a lighthearted adventure with endearing characters, you won't be disappointed. My biggest complaint is that the story does end a little abruptly, but the devs have stated that they do have plans for post-game DLC, which will include an extended story and new dungeon. Though right now, they're primarily focused on bug fixes for version 1, and they have already released a few such patches as of the time of writing. And I also have to mention the map system. For the overworld, there is a map, and it works decently, I guess. It could be improved, but it is at least useful. However, there is no map system for inside of the temples. I can forgive the early Metroidvanias for lacking proper maps, but in this day and age, it is absolutely essential that you have them in your game. I feel the game is a little on the easy side, but that keeps par for the course with most actual Zelda titles. I didn't 100% the game, but I did find a good portion of the hidden items, and I clocked in at a little over 14 hours. Although Arkanya doesn't reach the heights that the best of the Zelda series did, it's still a strong first showing from a new indie dev, and I'm eager to see what else they might release in the future. In conclusion, I find The Girl From Arkanya to be worthy of a respectable 8.4 out of 10. The Girl From Arkanya is currently available for PC via Steam and itch.io. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of The Girl From Arkanya? What Zelda clones do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.